Hello there guys, Daniel Childs back here again, full time at the Amex Stadium. Brighton 1, Chelsea 2, 4 wins in a row, and with what happened at Old Trafford tonight with Man United beating Newcastle, 6th place is almost Chelsea's, at least 6th place. Chelsea only now need to avoid defeat against Bournemouth on Sunday and they will have clinched 6th place. So another brilliant night from Mauricio Pochettino, but one that had very, very tense moments within it. And unfortunately, the narrative in some ways tonight is going to be about Reece James, but not for the reasons we spoke so glowingly on Saturday about him returning. As quickly as he returns, he goes back out, but not because of injury, because of his stupidity. And it nearly cost his side in what was another really, for most of it, a really professional performance. The team were clinical when it needed to be and looked like they were cruising to what was going to be and was in the end, of course, the result still ended with Chelsea winning. Happy days, but it should have never been that stressful. And I think it's such a shame because it's not the first time we've seen this from Reece James, and it's, you know, the part of his game, sadly, that has cost him. And you know, I need some clarification over whether he's going to be out for more than one game, because obviously his season's over. He ain't playing on Sunday, but whether that ban will sort of overlap into next season. But it was a night where Chelsea, you know, I think could have scored a lot more. I think they were a little bit more wasteful tonight. And they had to deal with a Brighton team who were a little bit strange at times. I thought they definitely were, they had more sort of enthusiasm. They had a bit more energy and quality than they have in recent games. It felt like they definitely wanted to beat Chelsea, I think, narrative-wise, and Chelsea had to be at their best at times defensively to stop Brighton. Brighton did spurn some big opportunities, especially in the second half. One from Pascal Gross at 1-0 kind of really stands out to me as one that could have turned the tide of that game. And then we're obviously given a massive boost when Reece James went off. But the starting 11, I was happy to see Gusto back in the starting lineup, and he proved why he was in the starting lineup during the game. Mudryk kept his place. Really no radical changes. I think the biggest change was Thiago Silva dropped out and we had Badiashile and Trevor Chalobah as the back two. But other than that, it's kind of the same 11 we have seen in recent weeks. And I thought Chelsea were a little bit sloppy in the first sort of 20 minutes. I thought it seemed like all night Tariq Lamptey was causing Chelsea problems down that right-hand side. He put in a lot of dangerous balls. Adingra had a shot that went just wide. João Pedro had a header that hit the bar. There were other headers as well. It felt like any time that ball went out wide, it felt like Brighton were definitely targeting that side. I don't know, just because it's Motka Correa and defensively his kind of limitations going back, especially one-on-one at times, but then also maybe him going inverted and looking to exploit that space if you can turn the ball over quickly from Chelsea and then trying to hit us out wide, which is where Brighton went to try and create their opportunities. But, you know, the first goal, he scores headers now, does Cole Palmer. That's 25 goals for the season. And this is an area that Brighton have struggled with, crosses into the box and free headers. And it was a brilliantly timed run from Palmer. It was a great little chip from Motka Correa into the box for an assist, and lovely worked goal. And I think both goals tonight were just a great sign of Chelsea being patient in build-up, not rushing things. They have been a lot better in that sense in recent weeks, and it you know, paid dividends in the end of waiting patiently for those moments, for those gaps to open up and players rotating. And Cole Palmer, of course, adding another goal to his incredible tally this season for Chelsea when we needed it. And then going into half-time, you know, the game, Jackson had one ruled out for offside. There had been other moments when Jackson had been played through and he didn't have his best night tonight. I thought there were a few sloppy touches and a few bad decisions where he could have been a lot better, where you do still see the raw side of Nicholas Jackson. But it was nice that, you know, Christopher Nkunku came on for a large chunk of the game. Of course, Mykhailo Mudryk went off. I hope he's okay, because it seemed like it was a concussion substitution. And let's just get through this quickly, because obviously the Wolves thing today with VAR before this game kicked off has sort of sparked a lot of discussion over them wanting VAR to be scrapped. And I think tonight was a great demonstration of why Wolves, I think, legitimately want a conversation to be had around VAR and its future in the Premier League. Because tonight we saw the inconsistency of the system and why so many people look at it and feel so conflicted or just frustrated in the way it's implemented. Because during this game, I think the first one that gets overturned, the penalty, when Marco Correa initially it seemed like he's going to get fouled, Chelsea going to win a penalty. I don't think that's a penalty. Straight after that, Chelsea should have been given a corner. They weren't given a corner. That's a small thing. Later in the half, Tariq Lamptey elbows Mudryk in the head, which is what leads to the concussion substitution. Why isn't that checked for violent conduct? And then later on in the game, Reece James is checked for violent conduct. Later in the game as well, Verbruggen took out Nicholas Jackson one-on-one, and it wasn't a penalty, so it wasn't like you could argue about double jeopardy, which naturally led me to think, well, he's going to be sent off, right? He's the last man. Wasn't sent off, just given a yellow and nothing doing. It's these things consistently, and the Reece James one, for me, is a red card, but it's that inconsistency of why wasn't Tariq Lamptey sent off for something similar? Actually more violent. You know, that really did hurt Mudryk. I mean, it was more petulant from Reece James rather than actual, I think. I'm not saying that Reece didn't deserve to be sent off. We'll get to that. But like, overall, it showed once again the stupidity at times of VAR and the incompetence of the PGMOL. I tweeted this, I'll stand by this, I'll say this right now. They should be talking at the Premier League meeting at the end of this season to disband the PGMOL, to reconstruct it, to break it down, because it's not fit for purpose and it hasn't been for many years. The second goal for Chelsea was wonderful. Again, just really patient, nice build-up. I love how involved Caicedo is with our passing now, and how influential and confident he's getting in those moments. But it also, Malo Gusto proving that as a right back he can create goals, as he has for a lot of the season when Reece James has been injured. And it was such a nice built move, and the cut back for Nkunku. Nkunku's brilliant finish. We saw the balloon. The balloon is out, baby, and we'll have to get a blue balloon emoji, because I don't think there's one out there. So hopefully Chelsea can get on that. But lovely for Nkunku to be able to get a goal near the end of this season, which has obviously been, I'm sure, very frustrating for him given the lack of football he's played. But that's another goal for him in what has been a kind of a cameo season, really. We haven't really seen Nkunku properly. And just felt at that point Chelsea had done their job. You know, Reece came on, Sterling came on. It felt like Chelsea had kind of stemmed the tide of a very up and down game in the start of that second half. And it did feel like Chelsea needed to get a goal. And then Reece does what he does. I mean, it's not like Reece doesn't have a track record with this. He did it against Spurs earlier in the season, got away with it. I think even VAR looked at it. I can't remember who it was against. I want to say it might have been against Romero or Richarlison at the end of that first half in the away game, obviously. But then, of course, he gets the second yellow away at Newcastle and he doesn't need to. And if you want to be the captain, if you want to be the leader, I feel like I'm replicating exactly what I said back in November. But I don't think I'm being harsh here by saying just any player. It's just pure stupidity. And for a player who's just returned, who got rightly so much praise for his output, it's a negative output tonight, and it's a stupid one, and it's cost him one more appearance this season. It's cost him potentially more appearances next season. Again, whether it's a 1 or 3 match ban for violent conduct, but and then it put Chelsea under so much pressure. It awakened the Brighton crowd, and they score. Luckily, they scored later in added time, but there were still some kind of cagey moments. Luckily, we get through it, but if we didn't, there's only one place everyone's going to be looking at, and that's at Reece James. And I don't think that's unfair, because the game radically turned then. And luckily, Chelsea were able to be resistant, get through and win the 3 points. But it's just like with Reece, it's that constant frustration of, you know, what could be. And him either being injured or being suspended. This is a guy who can't afford to miss games. And it's just, it's a blight on the night. You know, it doesn't ruin the night, obviously, because the main thing is Chelsea have won and it's a big win in our Premier League season. But it just, for him personally, I don't get it. I don't get what was going through his mind at that point, and he nearly let his team down in a big way. But because of what happened at Old Trafford, Man United winning that game, it gives Chelsea a lot of breathing room. I didn't kind of realise, but that's where we are when you only have one game left. It does mean with Chelsea on 60 points, just looking at the table here, Newcastle on 57, Chelsea only need a point now to guarantee at least 6th place, which will be some form of European football, which is lovely. Lovely to be in that position, and lovely that Chelsea can now put themselves on course. They just have to avoid defeat. Bournemouth are a decent team. They're a bit like Brighton in the sense they don't have a lot to play for. They are away from home, but they are a team that has done a lot of good this season. So it's not going to be simple, but at least it gives that team a little bit of an insurance policy. And I just hope the team can finish with a high at Stamford Bridge, because they've done really well. 4 wins in a row. It's the first time we've done that in a very long time in the Premier League. They have gone to grounds where Chelsea have failed to pick up points in recent years, Forest and Brighton. They've come through difficult, tense moments. It hasn't all been plain sailing. They've had to face some adversity, and they've got through that. And that's a sign of a group that's growing. So all round, it's been a great end to the season, and I really hope they can finish it off in style on Sunday with Thiago's farewell at the Bridge, because it puts Pochettino in a position where he can turn around to the hierarchy at Chelsea and say, I deserve more time. It puts us on a place where we can look at the season and go, actually, it's been a lot better than where we thought it was going to be. Not incredible, but we've got European football back. What type of European football? We hope it will be Europa League, but could still be Conference League. And yeah, hopefully we can look into the summer feeling a lot more positive about Chelsea. Let me know your opinions. My man of the match was Caicedo. I still think Caicedo is just, passing-wise, he's making a lot of things happen, and just defensively, he's bossing games at the moment. So again, a lot of flowers for Caicedo. Some flowers for, and a blue balloon for Christopher Nkunku and for Malo Gusto. A telling off for Reece James, but 3 points up the Chelsea. All the best.